Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning from, and whenever you will be tuning from. Thank you for spending this time with us. Today, we are going to talk about something that affects all of us. Again, what is that thing? Mental health. We have to take care of our mental health. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, which is this May, we want to join with the global theme, which is turning awareness into action. Let us not just talk about mental health. How can we put some action behind it? Again, this is All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care podcast, where healing meets purpose, where every conversation meets us and takes us closer to our mental healthy world. I am your host, Mercy Gesang, as always, and today we are diving into the topic again, turning awareness into action. Mental health awareness, like we've always talked, is no longer on the sidelines. Yes, there is still that stigma. Yes, there are still people who do not talk about their mental health or do not know that they can have access to mental health, but it is in front and in the center in our global conversation. What happens after we know? What happens after we wear the ribbons? What happens after we share the posts? How do we move from knowing to doing, from caring to committing? I'm not going to answer that alone. We have some people here, some speakers here that will introduce themselves very soon. Because in this episode, we are ready to answer questions, the hard questions and the hopeful ones. It's not just hard, it's hopeful as we are moving from awareness to action. We'll explore the stories, the struggles, and the strategies of how we can turn that awareness into action and bring compassionate change at home, at work, in leadership, and why not across all our communities. So, whether you're a caregiver, a coach, a policymaker, or simply someone who cares about their own mental health or the mental health of others, this is for all of us. And I would love to talk with our speakers. I don't see Dr. Franklin. Shubhani, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do and who you are, please? Oh, he's back.
Oh, Hello, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Mercy, for having me as part of this very important
Sure.
topic today. I am Tribeni Chogle, based out of the UK, where I am an inclusive impact coach. I coach people in the space of career, executive, and leaders, and I'm a consultant as well in the space of social impact and sustainability. I'm delighted to be here today.
It is our pleasure. I and the All Mercy team, it is our pleasure to have you. Dr. Franklin, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do, please?
Yeah,
You're
I was
mute.
muted.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Messi. I'm Dr. Franklin Wisi. I'm a global public health and development professional from Cameroon. I'm presently the community mobilization coordinator for the Camphia Survey. Camphia Survey is a Cameroon population-based HIV impact assessment survey at the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Board. I'm also a consultancy with several institutions like the Pandemic Fund, for example, and also a youth advisor for health at the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So my
You're
field,
wearing many hats.
yes, thank you.
Hope, hope those
I'm
hats, hope all
security.
those hats do not affect your mental health.
No, thank you,
Yeah. So let me stay with you, Dr. Franklin. And
thank you.
mental health awareness has grown. But how do we now translate that awareness into something tangible that someone can see, not just hear about it? How do we transform that?
Thank you. That is quite a good question, and just to indicate that in Cameroon, right in Africa, the way we see mental health is quite different from let me call the global north, right? So you know, awareness has to be transformed into accessibility and accountability. As I speak now, mental health is not well spoken about in our context due to stigma and other factors whatsoever. And even especially amongst men, they feel like it's strength if you don't air out your weaknesses or whatsoever. So there need to be a means of building community-based resources like peer support groups, training community healthcare workers in delivering mental health at the basic level. We're talking about primary healthcare. We're talking about how can people, no matter their financial status, still be able to access healthcare and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? How can we integrate mental health into schools and workplaces? There are so many jobs that they don't talk about. They don't care about your mental health. They don't care about what you do apart from the work you're to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that moving awareness into tangible action will require all of these factors as well as political will and buy-in. Because if the public health expert do all the research and there is no political will or buy-in to support this, to put it into policy, it is not going to go far within a country. Thank you.
Do you see that happening? I know you said it's not the same definition or the same accessibility in Cameroon as in the US. Do you see
Yeah.
that growing in Cameroon though?
Yes. I mean, it's gradually growing, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, on average, let me take from the African perspective,
Mm-hmm.
we have 1.4 mental health workers per 100,000 people in Africa, compared to the global average of having 14 per 100,000, mental health care workers, right? And mental health as is a domain in health per se is actually under resourced or underfunded.
Right.
And I would say that yes, in Cameroon, for example, you will see that resources maybe are put more into psychiatric institutions, which are focused more in the urban areas and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it is already at that level. You go to Jabot, I don't know if you have heard of Jabot.
Computation. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
those kind of things. How does somebody get to that level without passing through, some interventions that could have averted him to reaching there, you see? But I think
Right.
that as time is going on, things are changing. The one key thing I want to also make is about resource allocation. Less than 2% of all health budgets are allocated to mental health. And of this allocation, 90% of it, as I've said, goes more to psychiatric institutions and is only focused mostly in urban areas. So we need to, increase funding for this. We need to create that enabling environment for people to be able to seek care without stigma, especially those living with chronic conditions like HIV/AIDS, etc. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
We'll get there one day, Dr. Franklin. With your help, with my help, with all the global help, we'll get there one day. And after this podcast, let's talk a little bit. Don't go, okay? Let's talk a little.
Okay.
And I want to ask Tripeni. Oh, I love that name, Tripeni. What's one personal or professional moment that changed how you view mental health? Or first of all, let me say, what is mental health to you? And what is that personal or professional moment that changed how you view mental health?
So mental health for me is, our health around our mental well-being, right? In
Mm-hmm.
terms of, how we perceive things, how we see things,
Mm-hmm.
how uh, behaviors of others and ourselves affect us, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of that personal moment that changed my view, I would say while the moment was one, and it was when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia a few
Okay.
years back.
Yeah.
Uh, it was accumulation and a transformational point for me around my mental health because my triggers were lack of sleep and stress. And one of the things that I realized that had led to that was my inability to say no whenever I had workload assigned more than my capacity. And that has to do with my cultural upbringing, not being able to say no to someone senior to me,
And
the
Tribet,
hierarchy
let me
respect.
cut you. Each time you're saying yes to someone, you are saying no to yourself.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it was more difficult for me to unlearn some of those upbringings, and that I had been enforced and were integrated in me as I was growing up in my society and culture. So it took me quite a while to undo that.
Mm-hmm.
And what that led me to have work practices, because of my values of being committed,
Yeah.
sincere, having good work ethics, to work many long hours, to not have time for other things, which were including myself, my family, and doing long hours, over months, time and time again.
Time and
So
time
that was a
again. Mhm.
cumulative, yes, over the years, it was a cumulative effect. And I learned it the hard way, but I'm glad I learned it still for my remaining years of my life.
I'm glad you shared that. That's a personal story, and I know that many people will relate because we work hard, we work long hours, we accumulate stress, we keep saying yes, yes, yes to others, to situations, not recognizing that we are saying no, no, no to ourselves repeatedly, and we are drained.
Yes.
And how do we turn this awareness, now that we are knowing it, how do we turn it into action? Part of the action is like what we are doing now, creating these safe spaces where people
Absolutely.
can talk. Action is creating affordable care like what Dr. Franklin said. Not just affordable care, but access to care, because there's no way we can turn it without bringing the equity in it, the engagement of people in it, and yes, the access of care, where we can foster community partnerships for to talk about mental health and to access mental health. And some cultures still to today do not talk about mental health, or
I am
some
not one of them.
absolutely, even some who talk about it do not talk about it. For me, being in the US and being in the healthcare field for so long, I realized that mental health is that thing that impacts everything that you're going through. If you don't have physical health, if you don't have financial health, if you don't have cultural health, if whatever place you're lacking, it will affect your mental health. And witness high performing professionals suffer silently until they hit a crisis. For me, I have seen it in so many professions. You see people that you think they don't have problems. You see people like that you think they have all this balance within them. They suffer in so much silence because sometimes you feel like when you talk about, oh, I need help, oh, I'm feeling sad, it's like you're a very weak person. When you see all these people suffer in silence, that's when it hits me. I'm like, oh no. It made me realize that success and suffering mentally can coexist. If we don't take care of it, there's that need to normalize seeking that mental health so that we can create that balance and still live in a society. Which is leading me to this question, Dr. Franklin. How do you approach self-care when your work involves caring for others? You're doing so many things. You're wearing all these hats. How do you approach your own self-care?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, I schedule non-negotiable time for rest and for my family. I mean,
Non-negotiable time. Is that possible, Dr. Franklin?
yes. What do I mean? There are times that I have to go offline. In fact, I don't even want to look at my email because once I get my phone signal email, it may be a request to do something and stuff like that. I mean, I like walking. You know, President Donald Trump once said something that his father taught him to like walk, that he loves walking. So I like
Mm-hmm.
walking too. It gives me views, it keeps my mind focused and all the like. But there
Mm-hmm.
is time for everything, right? And self care isn't selfish, it's stewardship. We are in a society where when you
Oh,
want
I
to
like
withdraw
that.
a
Say
bit,
that again. Self-care isn't selfish.
isn't selfish, it's stewardship,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yes, I've learned that caring for others with, while honoring my own limits and modeling my healthy boundaries indirectly helps me and my family. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not fine, it affects my wife, my three kids, and my other colleagues and peers and things like that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just what I can say. Always having a time that you have scheduled. Like today is Saturday, right? By the time we reach 6 o'clock, that's Cameroon time, I have a family meeting with my family, with my kids. I'm like, hey, what happened in the week? What are you going to do next week? And we
Right.
just chat, we play some games and watch a movie together. Thank you.
Make it intentional.
Yes.
Wow. What about you, Tribeni? How do you approach your own self-care?
Yeah, I
In
have a few.
consulting, you're working with so many people.
Correct.
Mhm.
I do have some, self care built into my daily practice routine, and my day starts with one of them, which is journaling, and I feel that grounds me,
Yeah.
to my emotions, to how I am showing up for the day ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I also do meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Depends, and if I am struggling to find the time, sometimes even during the day I spend 2 minutes box breathing, which I feel is so powerful in just
Right.
helping me, switch from one context to another context.
Mm-hmm.
um, I love my garden. As I was sharing a bit earlier, it's therapeutic for me.
Yes.
Uh, Summer days are beautiful, but even in winter, some of the flowers that bloomed over the winter when everything else is dry is so beautiful because it's about the hope. It talks to you about the upcoming season, right?
Yes. Yes.
About the replenishment even nature goes through during winter for the seasons coming up. So it
Mm-hmm.
gives me a lot of that, infusion to my self care,
Right.
and really honor these practices as much as I can. The other one that I do, which is more at bedtime rather than at the beginning of the day, is my gratitude practice. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that
Oh, I love
helps me
creative practices.
recognize the gift of life, the gift of different things in our life, no matter even if I might have had a tough day.
I love gratitude practices. And like you, Dr. Franklin, I for me, self-care is disciplined. That's just it's discipline. And it's
Yeah.
not a luxury. And I think it is a lifestyle that everyone should embody. What practices keep them grounded? My self care practice may not be your self care practice. And like you, Tribeni, I love gardening. It keeps me grounded. It makes me feel like I'm birthing something. It makes me feel like I'm taking care of, and it just waters my mind. It nurtures my spirit a lot. I like journaling too, but people normally think self care is a luxury. Like, oh, no, it is not. You have to find time for those emotional boundaries. You have to find time to prioritize silence. Sometimes you just want to be away from all those distractions. Prioritize silence. Or sometimes listen to something good, some music, watch a movie, something that just keeps you in the moment. And many people, especially the culture where I come from, storytelling has a lot to play. And I want to ask you, Dr. Franklin, what role have you noticed that storytelling play in mental health advocacy or awareness?
Wow, that's quite a good question. And, you know, just to say that storytelling humanizes mental health. I've come across people that just need to talk to somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah, what are we talking about? They just need to you just need to listen to them. And when
yeah.
they talk to them, express what they're feeling and how they look at life and everything, and you give in your one or two advice or something, it helps. I do mentor a lot of students, MPH students, some PhDs, some my elders or what, because of the skills I've gained and garnered over time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think that, you know, this also bridges the gap between stigma and empathy.
Oh, yeah.
People at times when you're discussing with them and and you wipe out that boundary and bring in empathy, it kills the stigma whatever they have in them, and it helps. Thank you.
And it invites action because,
Yeah.
like you say, it humanizes mental health.
Yes.
Makes it feel like we are not just talking about something abstract. This is real. This is happening. Let's talk about it. I've been through it. You've been through it. Then the next person is not shy to talk about their own story. And it builds
True.
the empathy. And with all this, it invites the action like, you too, you too. Oh, okay, now that we know, what do we do about it? Because every time someone shares their mental health journey, it breaks a chain of that stigma and it opens the door for someone else to share. And as it keeps going, it encourages action. Tribeni, what is one action when we keep talking about action, action? What is one action anyone can take today to support mental health in their own circle? In your circle, you're doing a lot of consulting, a lot of coaching, impacting, building people, like you said, making people know who they are. What is that one action that someone in their own different bubble can take today to support their mental health?
I would say there is a very simple act that we always do. And whenever we meet someone, right, we always ask, how are you? And my request is to put emphasis to that, how are you? How are you really doing today? Because sometimes the response tends to be performative. Someone in the first instance might say, no, I'm fine, I'm doing okay. Right? But when you invite it, and when the other person whom you're greeting can sense your genuineness
Yeah.
and your curiosity to actually know how that person is doing, they might tell you, oh, actually, I'm having a bad day, or actually, I'm going through a tough time at the moment. And that is a small act,
Mhm.
simple act, nothing needs to change, just demonstrate our humanness, and it has the power to turn this awareness into action.
I like when you guys talk about human, being human. That's what mental health is. It demonstrates. Ask genuinely, look at the person, look into their eyes, like show concern. How are you? And listen without judgment. Don't just ask. When they are telling you how they are feeling, listen without judgment. Because that alone can create a power. We talk about ripple effect when you see those waves. How are you? Maybe nobody has asked that person all day how they are doing. And when they see that genuinity from you, they may feel like, oh, somebody actually cares. And they may take time to tell you how they are doing. And you also may be able to help with how they are doing. I want to recognize our viewers online. Mabel Chocolates, thank you. Remina, thank you. Ali Bison, thank you. If you have particular questions, please drop them and we'll answer as we go by. Maybe also, what is her culture? As our culture does influence how we respond to people's situation, mental health is universal. Absolutely. It is universal. It is not only something that happens in the US or something that happens in Africa alone. It is universal. Even people who do not talk about mental health, some of them go through a lot of mental health issues that we wish that they could talk about it, bring some light into it. That way, we can start not just being aware, but turn that awareness into action. How do you handle burnout, Dr. Franklin? You're this, you're that, you're that. You're a family man, you're a father, you're a husband. How do you play all those roles? Do you have burnout? And if you do, how do you handle them?
Thank you very much for that question. I mean, I've learned over time to study myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a continuous process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned to, delegate tasks. When I'm working, I believe in teamwork, right? And I also believe that leadership doesn't mean everything, doesn't mean my title, doesn't mean you are the hero. If you have that kind of mindset, you burn, you just finish one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I learn to understand where my limits are, and I check in myself regularly. You people talked about gratitude lists and everything.
Yeah.
I take time to reflect on myself. What am I doing? How am I feeling? If I'm too tense up or something, I try to do something to distract myself, whether watching a movie, listening to music. I love listening to music, inspirational music, and things like that. So that is how I just do it. There's no one fix stuffed into that. There are several ways, but you just need to have that consciousness as well.
Mm-hmm.
Help others who don't know about it. Thank you.
Right. And there is something I teach when I do psychotherapy. I always say, what is your mental thermometer today? What reading is your mental thermometer today? Like when you say, Dr. Franklin, always check in with yourself. It's very important that we check in with ourselves very often, especially when we feel a disequilibrium. Let us not make it go for long until until we hit a crisis before we check in with ourselves. How do you handle burnout, Shubhani?
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I do is I do an energy audit on myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I know my triggers. I'm a highly sensitive person. So, in some conversations, because of the topic brought up or something, it can hit me in terms of my sensitivity. So
Mm-hmm.
I focus on my energy audit, and I have a lovely, wonderful Labrador at home who gives me great company. So 5 minutes with my Labrador, and I can, rebuild my energy. So I am lucky and I'm fortunate, and that is one of the ways I really ensure that I do not reach the burnout stage. Just as Dr. Franklin was saying, that
Mm-hmm.
the awareness has to be such that we prevent ourselves from getting into that state of burnout, because
Energy audit. Mm.
earlier, reaching that stage of burnout means a lot of recovery work to be done. And
Yeah.
when we are leaders or where we are responsible as adults in our families or in our communities,
Mm-hmm.
that the way we live our lives in terms of managing the different hats that we wear, it is very important, because that's where we set the example to others around us as well.
Absolutely. Energy audit. You're making me think right now, Tribeni. Energy audit. I think that's something I need to start doing as well. Especially when you feel low or demotivated. Maybe if you check your energy and see where it lies, then you can link into the moment where you have high energy. What gave you that high energy, and why is that energy low now? That way, you identify your triggers better and see how to handle them. And I want to stay with you, Tribeni. What are
Sure.
some barriers you've noticed that prevent people from seeking mental health support?
I mean, Dr. Franklin talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
and the stigma is still there, and the taboo is still there. I live in the UK, and we have the NHS here, and the support for mental health takes a long, long time in terms of the people getting it. So, as a society, as us in the society or in our workplaces, we need to be able to normalize it. But there are simple things that we can do, which is about ourselves getting trained in mental health
Mm-hmm.
practices,
Mm-hmm.
becoming mental health first aiders, because there are simple things. There are some great charities who are doing work and working to demonstrate that this
Yes.
is nothing to feel
Yes.
ashamed of, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we can support those charities till it becomes more normalized than where it is. One of the boons of the pandemic has been bringing mental health conversations into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we were many years behind before pandemic took place. It has normalized it much more. We
Mm-hmm.
still have a long way to go. And it is those factors around the self limiting stigma of not realizing that the mental health is elements of our body and brain that
Right.
causing these things, and it is but very human to
Right.
suffer just as we suffer from physical health issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we don't take care of one over the other, then the other one suffers as well. Dr. Franklin, in Cameroon, what do you think are the barriers, some of those barriers that prevent people from seeking mental health support? You're muted, yeah.
Sorry, so we have been talking about it. The first one is actually stigma. And let me give an example. We work in the HIV cascade prevention care treatment. You go to a health facility and there's a section for day care, meaning that that section is for HIV patients. We have been advocating that why not try to change that scenario? Somebody coming there and is going to other direction, people start looking at, hey, this is an HIV patient and things like that, and it brings
Oh
some kind
yeah,
of stigma. You
yeah,
you get me?
yeah.
Yes, financial constraints, lack of culturally relevant services.
Mm-hmm.
I did a research about adolescent pregnancy. How does an adolescent come to get tested for pregnancy or maybe an STD, sexually transmitted disease or something, without being judged, without being all of this?
Yeah,
you know so those are some of those things, right? Culture, even the religious, in fact, domain, in the religious scope, being in church maybe, and maybe one reason or the other you find yourself doing something that you're afraid that, hey, a pastor or a brother in church or sister in church is going to label you as, in quotes, a sinner or some kind of, so these are realities that we see.
yeah.
So that's what's happening. Thank you.
I think you all have touched all the things that prevent people from seeking help. I also want to add, though, the cost of help, the cost of seeking that help.
Yes.
In the US, some people still cannot afford the cost of seeking help. Some insurances don't even cover mental health portion of what they are covering. And let me just bring it down like in Cameroon, Dr. Franklin. Let's say I have to go pay a doctor this to talk about something I'm not feeling happy, I'm not feeling entertained, I'm not feeling motivated, I've been sad for a long time. You have 5,000 francs. The doctor will see you before they write medication. Or do I take this money to go buy food and feed my kids than to go report something that everybody will like, you're not feeling happy? Get over it. There's nothing wrong with you. It is not something that we test in a lab to say you're positive for malaria, to say you have typhoid, you have an infection. Everybody just believe that you should get over it. There's nothing wrong with you. So cost also may affect people from seeking help. But as you guys see, many people do not seek help when they are in leadership role because the expectation is that you got it all together or you're supposed to get it together. For example, I am a mental health provider. Some people don't expect me to have any mental health crisis because I am a mental health provider. I teach it, I prescribe medications, I say, hey, take care of this, do this, do this, do this. And I may feel like, okay, I am going to be judged. Like, you who teach people how to take care of their mental health, so you too can suffer from mental health. So it's different perspective. And I just want to encourage everyone. Like Tribeni says, don't wait until you hit rock bottom. Don't wait until you hit a crisis to address the problem because it would cost you more your time, your energy, your health to recover from that crisis than if you realize that, hey, something is wrong, something is not adding up, and take care of it immediately. And I want to say, ask you, Tribeni, in your opinion, being a leader in the role that you play in your community, what's that connection between leadership and emotional resilience?
There's a huge connection. And it is an integral part. How can a leader be expected to make strategic decisions, lead a team, or deliver pragmatic and reliable decisions if they're not coming from a place of emotional stability, right? And the
Yes,
emotional stability is the emotional resilience that you have
absolutely.
to have. So
Absolutely.
it has got a huge and an inseparable connection between the two. And the element I think that is needs to be normalized is about not thinking that a leader is not human, and the leader himself or herself accepting that. Just as you said, Dr. Mercy,
Ooh,
just
yeah,
because of the nature of the care that you provide, right? The nature of the care that you provide, people expect that you cannot have, or there is a judgment about you having a mental health challenge or an issue, which is so unreal.
yeah. Because I think, like you just said, Tribani, sometimes we are in a position where people expect us not to be human, not to feel, not to have that emotion. We just have to say, oh, it's okay. And then we die in silence. We suffer in silence.
In the uncertain world that we are living in currently,
Hmm.
I would say that there is more and more need of human centered leadership. And how can we expect human centered leadership or leaders if we are trying to dissociate components like emotions, like mental health, like physical health as integral of who each and every leader is?
Absolutely. I am still standing on that point of being human. Great leadership, one of the components of great leadership or who is a great leader, it requires someone who has emotional resilience. It is a journey as you go through to master that resilience. You go through that leadership journey, you go through that training where you they teach you how to respond, not just react impulsively in things. You have to respond. You have to make sure that you're leading the way. It's not about your own feelings or emotions, but you're carrying the whole team with you. But after that, that can be a lot of burden. As a leader, we also need you to check in with yourself. Energy audit, like Triveni said, energy audit. Check in with yourself. Check your energy level. See, can you still lead this group? Is are you do you have the capacity to lead this group? Is it giving you more stress than something that you can handle? Check in with yourself. And this leads me to this question: how can we make sure that mental health advocacy, you, Dr. Franklin, who is a youth advocate, you are the voices of the youth. How can we make sure that mental health advocacy includes youth voices and marginalized communities?
Thank you for that question. We can do that by intentionally, I stress on the word intentionally, creating platforms where they can speak and be heard. What do I mean? Partnering with youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just programming for them. We have done this to the level that we have understood what it means youth engagement in whatever space.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen situations where youth, okay, in African Union definition, a youth is between 18 to 35 years old. At times, when it comes to
18 to 35.
yeah, between 18 to 35 years old, yes, that is the definition for a youth in the African Union context. Yes, how can we it reach to a level where we say if you are not giving a a seat on the table as a youth, try
Mm-hmm.
to create one. Look for that seat.
Yeah.
And what do we mean looking for that seat? By doing things like what I'm doing now, by writing papers, researching, by reaching out to people, going to communities, ensuring that mental health is part of your interventions in whatever thing you do, showcasing it. And by so doing, people will see that you're doing something, and that's you bringing your seat to sit on that table to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
So just to indicate, youth should not be only for programming. Programming means something that somebody can you dictate and say this, you have to do this, but they should be partners. They should be seen as people who can contribute. Thank you.
And they are the future of tomorrow. They are the ones who are going to. Triveni, what do you have to say about that?
I believe that the upcoming generation needs to have their voice heard. And we know with the situation around our planet. There's already a lot of emotional stress that the future generation is either experiencing, right?
Ooh,
And
yeah.
not just
Mm-hmm.
we who are, much elder than them, overall, we are not doing a great job of protecting our planet. So we are causing a lot of stress to the future generation. They are
Mm-hmm.
already experiencing a lot of uncertainty of how the planet will be by the time they get to our age, right? So they
Yeah.
are already experiencing a lot of turmoil and turbulence of
Mm-hmm.
what the future entails for them. And therefore, if we are not addressing that and giving that voice the platform, a safe platform where they can talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and there is action to help them deal with that, we are not including them, and we cannot say that we are providing advocacy for the youth.
Yeah. That's
The
true.
same goes to the marginalized communities.
Thank you.
Absolutely the same. The space, a safe space, just in a one to one coaching, right? We create a safe space for an individual to
Right.
talk about themselves, where
Mm-hmm.
judgment is suspended, where they can be who they are. That's the space we need to create at a wider level,
True.
at the level of these marginalized communities, where it's a space that we give them the mic to speak and
Mm-hmm.
say, you are safe to speak what you truly think.
Thank you for saying that, especially when you talk about the marginalized communities. I'm thinking of you, Dr. Franklin. You're doing all these things. You're talking about Hopital Jamo. That person in my village back home in Bunda, how do they, how do we get to them? Those things that you're doing, they are marginalized. They don't even know about mental health. Their kids may be acting up. They don't know that it may just be something. They'll be like, this one is a lost child, something. How do we include these people into this? Where you talk about we should empower youth-led activities. How do we include the marginalized people into it?
Yes, that is a very critical question. And what do I mean? In most interventions in our community, be it whosoever that is implementing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is this thing about the top bottom and the bottom top approach.
Mm-hmm.
There is this thing where we just want to think about what we're thinking, design it, and just come. We have identified a particular community and we are, just implement. How do we go to the bottom? That's the basic level. Those communities, talk with them. I've done research studies where it has taken me to places that I cannot imagine. I cannot even describe it. Rural areas that you don't even have network. One of them is the Bata, that's in the southeastern equatorial rainforest of Cameroon, where
Mm-hmm.
you there you enter a thick forest. Like your car is in a day, but it's like you're in the night because forest has covered you. Those are the kind of communities. When you go there, you see a child. They don't have any health facility. They don't even understand some basic health terminologies or what. They have their traditional way of, healing themselves and, doing all of that. How can you translate that story, this thing to the wider this thing? It's by talking at times, it's by creating, writing, publishing, finding yourself in platforms where you can talk and say that, hey, we are sitting here and there are people that are suffering from this, and if we can do this, that is what they have told us. I'm talking from first-hand, experience, not like I just sat and read about them in the internet or something, and I want to, you get me? Another
Right.
thing, primary health care. It
Oh,
is something that is pushing forward. There are a lot of agenda that are trying to strengthen it in Africa. Universal health coverage. How do we ensure that these marginalized communities can access health, can even go to a health facility and have the basic, healthcare that we can
right.
imagine? Because it's still not happening in many of these rural communities and under marginalized communities. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I also want to add a little bit to that, Dr. Franklin. When we are including them, let us not just generalize. Let us look at what specific problems are they having. What are the
Yes.
specific issues that they can easily relate to? so that they feel included, so that they feel heard. And again, I want to acknowledge all our viewers. Vera and so thank you for watching. She has a question. He has a question. Let me see. What does turning awareness into action look like in your daily life, especially at work? Anyone can answer that.
I'm happy to give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I
Can you
used to
put that
do
in the
when
board?
I,
Yeah, that's this question. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So when I was in the corporate world and I was a team leader, I used to maintain a well-being log for each of my team members. Okay, and what this well-being log was that I had a conversation as part of my one-to-one with my team members, asking them, has anything changed or happened during the week
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, that caused them adverse mental health at whatever degree. So I had an understanding of every team members of mine, what were their triggers, etc., so that I, as their leader, right, as they being part of my team, I
Mm-hmm.
could be aware of if what situations or projects were happening that might give those triggers or relate to those triggers, and how I could take responsibility of giving them protection or insulation from that.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
then on the weekly one-to-one checks, actually chat to them to not assume that just because of the projects that I am, because someone's life at the workplace is not just about the workplace. Things might be happening in their personal life, things might be happening outside. So it
That
is
will affect
important.
the work. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So it was important for me to ask that question as part of every one-to-one conversation that I would have with them. And for me, I felt that this was a powerful practice, a
Yeah.
simple practice to be incorporated to show to my team that I cared about their mental well-being.
Oh, that's wonderful. I hope that answers your question, Vera. Thank you for that question. And I want to stay with you, Tribeni, because
Sure.
I want to applaud you for everything you do for your community. And as a leadership coach, what you do, you're coaching people in the community and all that. How do you integrate mental health or mental wellness into that leadership and performance training?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, right? Performance is guaranteed or a function of how you are in your emotional and mental state. And the good thing that I would say is that I am seeing that being recognized more and more by leaders in
Mm-hmm.
the context of themselves and in
Mm-hmm.
the context of the people they lead.
Okay.
So that's a good thing to start off with. And
Yeah.
when I work with a leader, for me, I personally believe that your inner identity is what fuels your impact. Okay? And that
You
is
have
the
a huge belief in that, what you are inside. Yes.
and that internal clarity
Mm-hmm.
cannot happen without you as an individual not understanding where you are emotionally, mentally, physically.
Yeah.
So I ask all of those questions. I
Mm-hmm.
I help them to identify and know what are their triggers for stress,
Mm-hmm.
their triggers, the moments that they come close to burnout. What could it be? What mechanisms that they can embed?
Oh, wow.
And when we do coaching, because of the safe space that it is, where there is no judgment, where
Mm-mm.
I let them be vulnerable and I welcome
Uh-huh.
anything that they bring to that space, they see the power of that safe space, the power of that space where judgment is suspended,
Yes.
vulnerability is welcome, and anything, no matter how messy, is welcomed because it's part of who that individual is. And
Mm.
what they do is then, seeing that power of transformation that they experience themselves, they then take it to their workplaces.
Yeah.
They actually are now looking at being coach like to their team members. So rather than being directive, they actually ask out of the team members powerful questions which lets every team member be able to bring out their strengths, you know. So
Yes.
that is how the elements of the experience of coaching, even when it is in the one-to-one context, takes the elements of the significance of well-being, the mental well-being,
Mm-hmm.
into the workplace, and it causes, as you were talking about earlier, the positive ripple effect.
Yes. I want to thank you. I want to try and summarize everything that you've said. Coaching diverse people, diverse population. I don't care what work they are doing, training them to find themselves, especially in that vulnerable space without judgment. I think the best gift you're giving them is emotional intelligence. Yes. Like, who are you emotionally? You're all that outside, but inside that inner world, and that is the world that radiates outside. That is the world that will define everything you're doing. Because if you don't know who you are inside, you may go outside being confused. So, who you are emotionally, behaviorally inside, if you're not intelligent and aware about that, then you may not even be mentally well outside. Oh my. So, thank you so much for everything you do. And now I want to ask Dr. Franklin, you work in global development. How do you see mental health intersecting not just with the African public health system, but also with mental health globally? Is it prioritized? Is it not prioritized? How do you see that evolving?
Yes, I want to say mental health is kind of intrinsically linked to global health priorities. I used to, I was not really into mental health or whatsoever, like an epidemiologist. I was more of an infectious disease person, this and that. But the more I got deep into global health and things, I came to realize the place of, mental health. Conditions such as depression, anxiety are contributing significantly to the global burden of disease in areas like HIV/AIDS. I've worked a lot on HIV/AIDS and I know what I'm talking about.
Very
Maternal health, non-communicable diseases.
mm-hmm.
How do we postpartum depression? You see an African mother with five children, three
Mm-hmm.
children. She can't
Mm-hmm.
work on something. She does not have a nanny per se. You understand? And she's dying in silence. I think it's something that people really need to create awareness. I had the opportunity of visiting one lone drift meeting. They commonly call it Jangi in quotes.
Yeah.
And women were expressing themselves about what they go through postpartum, like after giving birth. You'll be shocked to hear what some of these women go through. And the funny thing is that some of their husbands do not understand all of this. You come to an African man and he starts saying that he wants to eat and things, and you're telling you about mental health. What has that got to do? So my work in global development has shown that there is a neglect in mental health, and the burden of untreated mental health disorders is kind of, I think, is much. You right in quotes. Let
Mhm.
me. I know as an epidemiologist, I need to quantify, but there
Yeah.
is the research space in this domain is not really much per se. So a lot has to still be done to really establish. We have done systematic reviews. We have done, studies to see how, mental health can be given priority. And there's this concept of global mental health security. It shouldn't only be some
Like
kind of,
globally, being in
yeah.
this field for this long, like globally, do you see them gradually prioritizing mental health as well?
Okay, yes, it is moving, right? For Africa, we have for example, the Africa CDC mental health leadership program, and
Oh,
actually there are advocacy courses that are going on,
mm-hmm.
and it is training course of professionals, including the youth, to be advocates to look at mental health with the lens of human rights and all the like. So I think this is kind of the initiatives at the African level that
Right.
is keeping up the mental health landscape. Apart from that, there's a lot of talk now, a lot of awareness that is being created. But as we say, how do we turn all of this awareness into action remains a
Yes.
bone of contention. Yes.
Yes. I think we're gonna work on that one day at a time. One day at a time. We're gonna plant more seeds. And this question, I had to think very well about this question to ask you, Tribeni. Can you speak on the intersection of sustainability and mental well-being in professional environments? Because in most workplaces, or as we're going through careers and stuff, the expectation is there, but is there it what is that mental stability there, and how do we sustain it? As a coach, where you see all kinds of people, please touch a little bit on that.
Sure. Whenever the word sustainability comes up,
Mm-hmm.
okay, most of the time it is associated with environment sustainability.
Yeah.
But sustainability is much more. And the biggest component of sustainability is human sustainability. Okay.
Yes.
Whatever we need to do for the planet, right, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of preserving it for our future generations, in terms of taking actions to preserve it and protect it for the generations that are coming behind us, it's the humans who needs to take the action.
Mm-hmm.
And mental well-being, just like physical health, is integral for every human being,
Mm-hmm.
whether they work in the sustainability space or not. So, human sustainability is an integral part that needs to be core to every organization's strategy for the success of that organization,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. I'll give you one example before you continue. I used
Sure.
to work, this is many years ago. I used to work where the job offers up to 8 hour free daycare for those people who have children and they don't have nannies, or they don't have nannies that they, or so that they can still work while someone is watching their children for them. It is just close, the same building as the job. So you just pack, drop your baby, and you go to the next unit and go to work when it's time. So that is, I remember that when you talk about sustainability, is not just environmental, it is human sustainability. So thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I had to say that.
Now it's beautiful examples that you give. And I think it's about nurturing practices
Mm-hmm.
that should come into picture, not just policies. Okay. Many of the policies that come into picture are great, but what are the nurturing and nourishing practices that we
Mm-hmm.
have for every single employee in the workplace? And that is critical
Yeah.
because that's the well being. The more a person feels engaged, the more a person feels fulfilled at workplace. That directly corresponds to their productivity, to their contribution,
I have to
and
write that down, Tribeni. Nurturing practices, not just policies. I need to write that down.
because it is that aspect that can give us the development, the performance, the success of the society. At the end of the day, many things that are being developed for society are happening within businesses,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the
Yeah.
people who are contributing to that development in the workplaces, if they are coming from a place of feeling good, feeling fulfilled, feeling engaged,
Mm-hmm.
then you will see that positivity integrated into the product, into the solutions,
Mm-hmm.
into the services those businesses and companies give out to society.
And I think that can even lower the turnovers. That can even protect the well-being or the mental well-being before it even starts leading to a crisis. So,
Absolutely.
oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I want to go back to Dr. Franklin. As a youth advisor, what are your top concerns young people share with you around mental health? You have been in the grassroots, you have been in the urban areas and all that. You've met youths in all levels. What are the top concerns that you
Okay.
share with around with their mental health, or do they even know what is mental health to them?
Yes, because of this growing awareness, they know, right? The
Mm-hmm.
first one is stigma. We cannot overemphasize the issue of stigma. being afraid to talk about it, feeling a type, lack of access to mental health services. They will indicate, but you are talking about mental health. We know, but who can we really talk to? When you go
Mm-hmm.
to a health facility, first of all, the doctor to patient ratio is very low. In Cameroon, I don't know if it's 1 to 1,000. I
Oh my
have to check it out. There is so much. You get me?
God.
Pressures of academic and economic expectations. I deal a lot with students, and I know what I'm talking about. During examinations or how, and the way our you know educational system has been coined, it's like education is more punitive than just learning. You see, so a student already is depressed because of the thought of writing an exam.
Mm-hmm.
And in my part-time lectures, so what I do is that I do a lot of motivational talking and everything, and students
Mm-hmm.
always like that. You don't just come and start sounding biology, microbiology, or whatsoever. So
Mm-hmm.
these are it. And then another one key thing is the digital space, from social media
Oh
to
yeah.
AI-driven platforms. You see a youth that goes to on Instagram or Facebook or whatsoever and spend long periods there
Oh
looking
yeah.
at people that maybe are well doing, maybe have body shapes in quotes. Some of them that have even been coded by AI or something, and they dream to want to be like them. So these are things that are sounding subtle, but they are real.
Unrealistic expectations.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
so those are the key things. And I think this is high time that government should actually regulate the way AI is becoming, it has done good, but there is some aspect of it that is very harmful, and social media as a whole. For example, in China, in TikTok in China is about education. They have coded in a way that you cannot see any kind of funny advert or whatsoever. They're
Oh.
doing more like how can they do development and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when you go to other countries, the way the algorithms are is exposed to all sort of things.
All sort of things.
Thank you.
All sort of things. I'm glad you touched social media, Dr. Franklin, because when I teach psychoeducation to youths, especially in group therapy, I said, please, I always teach about digital detox. Digital detox. Don't beat yourself. Don't isolate yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself from what you see in social media. You're seeing one side of it. The other side of it, if you see it, you will not even believe that it is that other side that you saw. Digital detox. You will see children spend 3 to 4 hours straight on social media, just scrolling up and down, scrolling up and down. What a waste of time. What a waste of time. And I want to come to you, Dr. Yeah, what a waste of time. Digital detox is something that we should be teaching these youths as they grow. Because what are you doing on social media for 4 hours straight? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And if you go those 4 hours, maybe nothing academic that you've learned. What are you doing? So it's instead you leave social media, you become more isolated. You start thinking that something is wrong with you because you don't have the model body that you just saw. You don't have the and oh no, Lord, may God help us. Tribeni, Tribeni, I want to ask you this: how can career transitions affect mental health? And what tools, we'll be rounding up very soon. Thank you to all our viewers. And what tools help in navigating? Because in today's world, in the economic climate that we find ourselves, many people are transitioning from one career to another. Some people thought this would be my dream job, and they find themselves moving from it and things like that. How can that affect our mental health?
It can absolutely affect mental health. It can be a huge shift to the system, depending on how that career transition comes about, whether it's planned or unplanned.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of a sudden, depending on the nature of the career transition, people might find the lack of a structure, lack of
Yeah.
identity because they had a structure behind them. And
Yeah.
I'm talking a little bit from my own experience as I have been career transitioning from being in the corporate world to setting up my own coaching and consulting practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so the importance is not about needing to have big things. but the micro things that I shared,
Oh yeah.
the journaling, the breathing, the meditation, being grounded,
Yeah.
having gratitude. And I also would like to emphasize having people who support you and can offer supportive challenge, because
Very.
it's not important that I get the same or reconfirmation of everything that I say.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I call it supportive challenge. Is
Yeah.
that I have my biases, but the supportive challenging community can help me see my blind spots, see my
Right.
unconscious
Oh
biases,
yeah.
and help me navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing when I reach out to my community or have that community and I surround myself with the community, knowing that there are others on similar paths, maybe very different transition, can
Yeah.
give so much of that support that I am not alone, is so powerful in no
Very.
matter how we do. So finding a community, right? Finding a community, having some micro practices that work for you, because every person is
It's
different.
different. Mm-hmm.
Any micro practices that can help you stay grounded. Try and have pauses, momentary pause, no matter even if it is a minute or two.
Yes. Yes.
Those are things that can really help. And it is important, and I cannot stress this enough, the importance of understanding who we are, because the moment we understand who we are can give us the right tools and
Mm-hmm.
techniques to help ourselves and be and focus our energy
Mm-hmm.
in trying to control the things that are within our power as we undertake these transitions.
Thank you so much, Tribani. And if from what Tribani says, if finding that support community, if that is too much for you, if you don't have a community, find you an accountability partner, someone who can tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, and someone who can stand with you under the rain, under the sun, and be there for you. If you have one or two people like that, that is your community. And if you can be there for somebody as well, create that community. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing that. And I'll go back to Dr. Franklin. How can we encourage governments and institutions to move beyond awareness to policy action? Tribeni has said earlier, and I wrote it down, how do we nurture practices, not
Mm,
just policies?
thank
That's
you.
why I'm asking this. How do we encourage governments and institutions to move beyond awareness to
The first
policy
thing,
action?
yes, thank you. The first thing in epidemiology, we talk about data. It's
Mm-hmm.
crucial to present compelling data on the economic and social impacts of mental health issues. How does mental health as a thematic on its own affect the socioeconomic and political landscape of a country of
Mm-hmm.
people? Get me? Public health is about people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking from the perspective of a public health expert.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we have the training programs like the Africa CDC's mental health leadership and advocacy course that is going on, and they select participants from member states who attend at a given country. We can model this for member states, individual member states to be doing, right? Trainer of trainers. If, for example, when you come back, what
Absolutely.
your ministry, yes, you guys organize something like that to ignite that spirit of you
Mm-hmm.
know transitioning from just awareness to
Action.
policies,
Mm-hmm.
bringing our politicians on board. I always say this: whether you carry out the best research, have the best results, if political will is not there, if buy-in is not there, I'm sorry, we may be wasting time. You know
Mm-hmm.
how long it took before the pandemic accord that was recently signed in the World Health Assembly come into fruition? About 3 years or something. A lot of
Oh.
deliberation, going up and down, coming forth. So there was need for that political will, for that buy-in to come,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also, we need to increase our domestic health financing. I will always say this. I've advocated a lot of this global with Global Fund, many organizations that call us to do this. We say Abuja Declaration 2001, they said African member states should give 15% of
I think
their,
Dr. Franklin is having some.
sorry, can you get me now?
No, yes, yes, you're back now. Thank
Yes.
you.
So increased domestic health financing is important too. It's going to help, uh, uh, better the healthcare service delivery, including mental health. Those are the key things I think for now, and not to overemphasize how we can regularize social media as a whole. The scope, you're right, looking at the age and everything. In fact, there need to be some laws and harmony and updates in the mental health laws and policies of a country. We did a review where we looked at the WHO mental health atlas that has the mental health policies and laws of countries, and they are far outdated. You see countries having their mental health laws and policies as 1980 something, 1990. We are now in 2025. I mean, we need
Yep.
to update these things according to the realities. Thank you.
Wow. I am tempted to say we are far behind, but I want to say there is hope. And last question for you, Dr. Tribeni. I already admire so much what you do. I want to say, what role does coaching play in destigmatizing mental health in corporate spaces?
Yes. So, coaching, given what coaching does in terms of the way it operates, right? When you do individual coaching as well as group coaching, it enables the individuals involved in the corporate space to
Mhm.
experience what the value of a safe space is and how vulnerability and being oneself is welcomed. And
Oh,
we all know that every organization needs to have diverse voices, needs to give psychological safety to their employees, needs to create a space of inclusion and belonging, right?
inclusion and belonging. Yes.
And the inclusion and belonging, the moment an individual feels that they belong, their mental health will improve, right? Their
Absolutely.
ability to deal with
Absolutely.
mental health from outside the workplace, to get
Mm-hmm.
the support of their colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
to get the support of practices that are put in, is what coaching can bring in. So there is a lot of value in understanding what the safe space is all about and creating that psychological safety, because the moment there is psychological safety, we are
Uh-huh.
able to move away and we are able to normalize being able to talk
Yeah.
about this is my trigger. This is where, if I experience that, I find difficulty in keeping my mental health the way it is, or I
Yeah.
need the right environment for me to do the best way that I can contribute to an organization is a necessity for
Yes.
that organization to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Because with coaching, I think what you meet people in a space where they are broken, and
Yeah,
you tell them, don't just see yourself as a broken person. I want you to see yourself as a becoming person. You can become whatever you want. Thank you so much, Tribeni. And I want to ask you one last question.
sure.
If somebody is suffering today and does not know where to start, and is in a society with a lot of stigma, and it's going through something that they know, if they tell their parents or if they tell their loved ones or if they tell their community, they will dismiss them, like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, what will you tell that person?
I would say there is a reason why you have come onto this earth. You have the right to live in this earth, the right to live your life being who you are. Just because someone doesn't give you the space to be who you are doesn't mean you cannot own your space. Own your space, appreciate the value of life, the biggest gift that has been given to you.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you take responsibility, you will find a way. Send out to the universe what you need. The universe will respond to you. And I'm always there at the end of LinkedIn to listen and hear to you and support in any way I can.
You say you're always there on LinkedIn. Please tell our viewers more where they can find you. Is it only on LinkedIn? Where can they find you? And I am already so impressed about the work you do. I know other viewers will be impressed as well, even as they watch this later. Where can they find you, and what exactly are you doing that they can just seek help if they need to?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn at the moment
Okay.
because I'm in the process of setting up my website, in
Yes.
space, which is about connectedness to yourself, your internal identity. Because I firmly believe the moment you know who you are, you
Mm-hmm.
can accelerate the impact that you want to drive
Mm-hmm.
and give. So that's where I am. And in LinkedIn, my email address and contact number is also there. So everybody is welcome, and anybody I can help, signpost to others, no matter where you are in the world, I welcome a conversation.
And they can find you on LinkedIn under your name, Tribeni
Yes,
Sugar. Okay. And
yes.
Dr. Franklin, what last words do you have for our viewers? Someone
Wow.
going through something, what will you tell them? And also let us know where they can find you as well.
Yes, they can get me on LinkedIn. I mean, that's a very big professional platform where we connect and everything. One last word I would just say is that mental health is a reality, right? Let's take it serious. Let's use our means, our spaces, wherever we are, in whatever small way, to talk about it. And the more we talk about it, the more we act in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, the enabling environment that we have. We're going to be putting, we're going one step ahead. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all. We've gone above 1 hour. That's how interesting the topic was. Thank you all for joining this powerful journey of awareness into action. If there's one message that all mercy, psychiatry, and integrative care wants you to carry with you, it is this: change starts small, but it starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with all of us. Let us not just sit and wait thinking that the policymakers, we are the policymakers. Let us not think that it is somebody else's responsibility to put that awareness into action. It is all of us our responsibility. Whether checking in on a friend, sharing your story, or pushing for better policies where you live, where you work, that is the action that you've taken from this awareness. And guess what? That action will ripple out. It will have that ripple effect. At All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care, we believe in the whole person. We believe in healing the whole, the community, transformation for everyone. And that starts with honest conversations like the one we are having now. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone that needs it. Even someone that you don't know that they need it, because they may share with another person that needs it until it becomes a community thing, until it has that ripple effect for everyone. You can always connect with us on LinkedIn, on social media like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. And once again, thank you. Until next time, be kind to your mind, put some action into the awareness. And again, mental health is a journey. Let's take the wheels and ride well together. Thank you all, especially our viewers, for watching. Bye bye for